Okay guys, so I'm filming the same scene with two different cameras, the Sony over there and the GoPro here. They're both just very plain, nothing adjusted, and the lighting is kind of terrible. And I will try to use this color checker thing, so I put it in front of my face and I do it like that, apparently slowly, to get all angles, and this is for calibration purposes. And now let's do something. Good, so let's try to see if we can get the Uncut Gems look out of this really terrible footage. Okay guys, so right now I have put everything in this directory, the footage of those two cameras and the final cut project. I also got the LUT out of this video, and let's see what happens if we get a final cut. Let's create a new project. Okay, so I separated the audio and cut it a little bit. Now you can see the image is flat. I will put the proper Cine LUT for Sony. And so here we go. I can group those as a Sony reference. Okay, good. So we have here the image from the GoPro. You can see saturated and looks weird. The Sony image is more polished, of course. Will it matter though? Let's figure this out. Okay, and now I'm going to add the LUT here, the uncut vibes. And here we are, and you can see it looks bad. So what we get into is try to do color corrections before and maybe start going, yeah, I don't know, a little bit more dark, a little bit more whatever. Yeah, we get something, we get a vibe. Let's get rid of this for now. And let's come here. So I will put a marker right here where we see the board. And now the first part is actually to go and crop and get just those grays out right here. Okay, weird, but this is what we need to do. We also disable the other one, and we have the scale here. And we start with the scopes, and more specifically, the most unusual thing ever, which is the vectorscope. Go and fully saturate this thing, so you see it flew right there. And already in the image you can see we are in the orange, right? So we can now correct the color temperature a bit, but also shift the whole thing. We want to get this to the center, so it has to be a little round curve exactly at the center. This is what we need. Let's go to curves. Now it has a little bit too much red. Now the red must be gone. Now we want to have a quite full range between whites. Okay, so now you can see this pretty centered. Maybe you have also a little bit too much blue. Maybe. Okay, this is pretty centered indeed. Let's see what we get out of this if we expand. Awesome. I know this looks weird, but this is a good thing, and it will become visible as soon as I kill the saturation. So we still have a little bit too much blue. Okay, good. So let's go now, and I will do it with zoom this time. And let's go and figure out what happens with the colors. Okay, so awesome. We see the colors here. And again, let's saturate them. And you see the vectogram here. So what we do is we pick this green and we want to rotate it so it's exactly pointing on the green side. And we do this with all the other colors. I now regret I should have been much closer to the camera. So now the stars point exactly where they should, and this means that the colors are where they should be. Okay, let's kill those streams and let's get rid of all the saturation. Okay, I know this looks weird, but this color is good. And we can see we hit the hundreds there. Maybe we will want to play a little bit with the mid-tones. And let's see what happens if we put the LUT on top of this. And let's see if we can get the same color with the GoPro. Okay, so let's start. Color correction, so we go. First focusing at white balance, we can see, yeah, this is already quite balanced. Not lots to do there. Maybe we miss some of the highlights. So we would like this to be quite more bright. And I see on the vectogram that has a little bit more red. Yep, and maybe a little bit more green. And that's it. Now it's color balanced. So now let's go to fix the color. I don't know what the name is. Probably color skew of some kind. So first of all, let's do green. Okay, this looks pretty okay to me. Let's increase the saturation. Okay, so we can see better what's going on. Second color, that looks pretty okay. So you see I adjust those so they correspond to these squares there, because those are the reference colors. Okay, and let's go back, reset the saturation, let's reset the scale and see what we have. Okay, so now let's compare again Sony. GoPro still looks more warm, way more warm, and maybe our main, and maybe our Sony image is actually missing the reds. Yeah, I think now GoPro is a little bit exaggerated. Okay, so now let's put the LUT on top of them. Yeah, and let's see the final clip. Okay guys, so I'm filming the same scene with two different cameras, the Sony over there and the GoPro here. They're both just very plain, nothing adjusted, and the lighting is kind of terrible. And I will try to use this color checker thing, so I put it in front of my face and I do it like that, apparently slowly, to get all angles, and this is for calibration purposes. And now yeah, let's do something. Good, so let's try to see if we can get the Uncut Gems look out of this really terrible footage. Okay, so I think the Sony looks better to me. There's small aesthetic changes that you can do, but here's the thing, when you have a nicely balanced footage, which looks like that, like kind of dull, then whatever I put on top of it will look good, and I will get the real character of the movie without having to do great adjustments. But look, if I haven't balanced the image, even if I apply the LUT, this is what I get. And there's a lot of difference between this and that, right? And you can see, even with the GoPro, okay, I might have a bit more yellow, but this is what I would get without my color balancing and the color board. And this is what I get with it, right? So there is lots more distance that you get by color balancing the image than what you get when you apply the LUT. The LUT is the final style, but having a color balanced image, that makes the most of the heavy lifting. Anyway, I hope you find this as interesting as I do.